Good evening. I call order the Monroe Public Schools Board of Education meeting. Today is February 11th, 2025, and the time is 7:15. Jamie, can we have brief roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Heck.
Here.
Mr. Jenkins.
Here.
Mrs. Myers.
Here.
Mrs. Terrassi.
Here.
Mrs. Vincent.
Here.
Mrs. Williams.
Here.
Mr. Zimmerman.
Here. Can we all please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, as a reminder, and I know Carrie has already stated to those who are here for the work session, if you wish to address the board for public commentary, please fill out one of the forms back there in the corner and turn them into Jamie at the end, the assistant, and we'll get you on the schedule. Okay, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda this evening?
There are. The first one is we're going to remove 3B, superintendent goals, and move that into a work session. And we're going to add item B3E, which is underneath new business, which is Michigan Student Leadership Conference. And so that is for our NHS group.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
I'll
Make a
move,
motion to accept the, move the.
I'll
the
move
agenda.
to, I'll move to make a motion that we accept the agenda as stated with item 3B, superintendent goals removed, and item 3D added, which is the leadership conference, Andy?
Michigan Student Leadership Conference, yes.
Thank you. And everything else is approved.
Do I have support? Jamie, can we have roll call?
Yes, Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Myers.
Yes.
Mrs. Terrassi.
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman.
Yes.
Mr. Heck.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. Superintendent Shaw?
All right. So, in my first set of comments, I'm thrilled that we can finally do one. It's February. So we have our middle schoolers back here with us, and I can see all the beautiful smiles back there. And it looked just like that 2 weeks ago when we came together to talk about what they're going to do tonight with our Board of Education. So to our board, welcome to our middle school students. And Mr. Duncan, the floor is yours.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board and those in attendance tonight. We're so glad to be here to share some positivity. The middle school truly is a special place to be, so you'll get to hear some personal experiences from our board of delegates tonight, and then we'll have something a little fun for you when they are done. So I will turn it over to our first speaker of the evening, Brooklyn.
Hi, my name is Brooklyn Boudry, and I'm an 8th grade student here at Monroe Middle School. In the beginning of 7th grade, I was off to a very bad start with not getting my education together or worrying about how I behaved. And then I realized all the opportunities and the people that were willing to see me succeed in life. It helped me turn things around to become better. Now I'm a straight A student in NJHS Board of Delegates in multiple sports. Without the help of my peers in the school, I wouldn't be where I am today. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Kinsley Smithers, and I'm a 7th grader at Monroe Middle School. In the first semester, I was in Mr. Johnson's enrichment, and we learned about SEL, social emotional learning. These lessons helped me put my mental health first and notice that I belong. Transferring from a smaller school such as Triumph Academy to a larger school, which I didn't know anybody, was nerve-wracking and scary. But now I find it more exciting. I made a ton of friends and built a lot of strong relationships with so many people, including my teachers. Being exposed to more people can be nerve-wracking, but in the end, it is an exciting experience.
My name is Evelyn Lentz, and I'm an 8th grade student at Monroe Middle School. The encouragement to do sports in the middle school is great. There are so many opportunities for clubs and sports. For me, sports has helped me become more active, stay out of trouble, create multiple friendships that were good for me, and help me branch out and talk to new people. I play basketball, and I've been on the team for 2 years, and we have made a lot of progress to get better. Our coaches at Monroe are all very uplifting and help to make our sport programs great.
My name is Max Zeppa. I am a seventh grader at Monroe Middle School. Tonight I will tell you about how teachers get and keep me and my classmates' attention. Teachers get our attention in many sorts of ways throughout the hour. My teachers use words like Riz, Sigma, Aura, Busing, High Key, Skibbity, and No Cap to try to relate to us. I'm sure they do not know what those words mean, but it does get our attention and entertains us. They continue using those words to keep our attention for the entirety of the hour. The teachers are one of the middle school's many strong suits.
Thank you.
That was fantastic. So Max's statements were a perfect segue. Middle school language can be a language all of its own, but we have a little gift for all of the board members tonight. So we made you a Valentine, since Valentine's Day is coming up this week. And you'll notice some vocabulary in some of the phrases that are used on your Valentine, such as aura, positive vibes, bruh, a friend, often used as a form of address. Bussin', something that is excellent, amazing, or delicious. High key, things that are obvious, over the top, or intense. Or no cap, not a lie, or for real. So this Valentine's that I'm currently holding says, you've got that aura that makes everything better. Hope your day's as awesome as you are, no cap. We appreciate your support in helping make middle school a great place to be. Happy Valentine's Day. Thank you for all that you do.
They're very cute.
So, Mr. Duncan, you ran away too fast. You slid through the. Oh, you ran away, so that means you got to come back up. We'll work on clarity right there.
Agenda items in tonight.
I understand. I remember the last time you were here and you kind of bombarded my board meeting, taking over, trying to take selfies, and also it's time to turn this ship around. So you ran through that list really fast. So let's hear it clearly.
If you would like, there's a glossary on the back of your Valentine.
Oh, even better.
We thank you, Ms. Stodora, for differentiating for all of our learners. And we do have our coaches here tonight. We have a lot of great staff here tonight as well. So yes, those words that I mentioned are on the back just for you to have. And like Max said, you know, the teachers do a great job of connecting with the students. Sometimes they have engaging class starters where, they'll welcome the whole class. But this is just something that we wanted to provide for you tonight.
Well, I appreciate that right there. So thank you all very much. To our kids, thank you. Go ahead. We're going to hand it. So like I said, 2 weeks ago when we met to prep out for tonight, it was very clearly stated we were not going to do a presentation up on the board. We wanted to be authentic to our middle schoolers, and it was really fun talking to you and then trying to decipher what you all were saying. So I did appreciate that meeting we had. So thank you for your courageousness, though, too, also of stepping in tonight and sharing. I know that's a big step, and keep doing what you're doing. Great things are happening at Monroe Middle School. So thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At the end of your
That's
time?
it.
Okay. Next, public commentary. Carrie, do we have any for agenda items?
When you come up, you will have 3 minutes. I will note when your time is ending or up. But first we have, do these in the order they were turned in. Brian Sabatini.
Good evening. It's been a little while since I've made any comments. I just wanted to note something about the elementary redesign, and I'm not here to speak as an advocate for or against. I do believe Monroe Public Schools, and I hope they do enshrine this in what they believe, that parents control their child's education. So what I hope you do is that if you pass it or don't, well, mainly if you pass it, but to keep that in mind so that when you kind of change the rules in the middle of the game here, there are some parents who are going to want to say, this doesn't fit my student. I don't think it fits it well. And that you give them the chance to do external school of choice if that's what they decide to do. Because I don't think we should be building fences around people. I think we should be allowing people to make their own choices. So hope you'll consider that. Thank you.
Next we have Mrs. Kramer.
Good evening. I presented to this board before. My name is Melissa Kramer. I've been teaching at Banner for 30 years. And this is my 31st year in the district. I had something else prepared for today, but after yesterday's meeting, I felt the need to change my focus. I asked my sixth graders today what they thought about this plan, and 100% of them said it would have been nice to have a building where they didn't have little kids throwing temper tantrums in the hallway, where they could be treated like big kids instead of being in an elementary setting. Plus, many of them are terrified for next year because we haven't prepared them. I'm sorry, one visit to the middle school in sixth grade does not prepare our students. Yesterday, I had heard repeatedly, it's all about the kids. Well, to me, clearly it's not. It's about everything else. I heard parents saying, I'll have 3 kids at 3 different buildings. How is that different than now? Teachers saying that I have to move again. I moved 10 years ago. I said, there's no definite research that the community needs to do what's best for their population. It seems to me the community thinks Mr. Shaw just woke up one day with this idea. This is not correct. What has really happened is Mr. Shaw actually listened to his teachers and staff. And to be honest, he's the first superintendent to truly do that. He heard us. He heard us say that we need a change. He values his teachers' experience and trusts that we know what's best for our students. We have teachers on carts, split classes, not enough space to house all the staff that we now need since COVID because we're dealing with a whole different kind of child now. Most of the students today have had some kind of device or screen in their face since they were able to hold it themselves. So social media and technology has kind of created this monster that we now need to fix. These students know more than I did at age 20. So we need to make a change because what we're doing clearly has some flaws. Currently, we have students in K through 6 in elementary setting, and then with little preparation, we throw them into the 7th grade setting where they now must navigate stairs, changing classes every hour, trying to go to their locker, not to mention all the new kids. So I'm asking that this board please consider finding the appropriate space for these students in the 5th, 6th building. I truly believe this proposal will allow all staff and students to feel valued because they have the space to thrive in an age-appropriate environment for preteen students. Please consider. Thank you.
Next, we have Mrs. Bell.
Good evening. I'm Melissa Bell, the principal at Custer Elementary here in our district. I have had the opportunity to listen to meetings, participate in meetings, participate in staff meetings for administrators and teachers. I've attended public meetings that were offered to parents and community members. And I attended last night's board work session. And I just had some reflecting that I did last night after that meeting and a couple of thoughts that I just wanted to share with you. So one of the things that was communicated pretty clearly last night from a group of people was their concern for transitions in students. I would encourage you to think about the transition. If we have a population of students who have been lucky enough to stay in one space for long enough, and the community that we serve, unfortunately, many of our kids do move around. But if they have had the luxury of being in an elementary building for either 7 years if they started in kindergarten or 8 years if they started in young fives, having a transition for the very first time going off to 7th grade means you have not experienced a transition for 7 or 8 school years. And that is a big, big change when you've had no practice doing that and you do not have the skill set you think you might as a student coming over, but you don't. And so I just urge you to consider that. For all of our students, practicing things and having experience with those things are important too. So that was one thing that was on my mind. Another thing that was on my mind listening to our work session last night was just the idea that, and I haven't heard this brought up, this would be the first time that Custer Elementary and Arborwood Elementaries would have their staff under one building. And I really, really see power for our students in that, both for the experience it would give for staff to really collaborate around student needs, for us to have common goals around student needs, and for us to be able to share material to meet the needs of students when we may have a third or fourth grader who needs kindergarten or first grade curriculum. And right now, we're not together in those buildings. We're across the street or we're across a parking lot. And it would just really help us support our students better being in a building together. And I haven't heard that brought up anywhere yet. So it's been on my mind and I wanted to share that with you. So I appreciate your time. Thank you for listening. That's all. Thanks.
And the last one we have is regarding a different topic, so we'll have you at the end. Is that okay, Yvonne?
Okay. Thank you. Next, we'll go to the reports. Is there any discussion on the contracted services report or the resignations report? If not, we'll move to the consent agenda. Are there any items the board members would like to have moved off of the consent agenda and move to new business?
Yes, I would like item 2A removed and moved to the new business. I can't really break that out anymore. Do you want me to break that out more?
Look at that 2A.
It's under 2A and it's the second one. Do you want me to break it out further? Or
Yeah,
just
why
want to
don't you
do
break it out
2A?
so we're just specifically talking
Okay,
about
so
that.
we're gonna remove from the consent agenda to new business, item 2A, 2, the second one. It is board meeting number 2 minutes, and move that to new business. And that would be all.
Okay. Do we have a motion to do that as well?
Yeah, I can do a motion.
Okay.
I move to accept the consent agenda with items B2A through B2D, excluding B2A, item number 2, board meeting number 2, and put forward the rest of the items as approved as recommended.
Is there support?
I support.
Jamie, can we have roll call?
Yes, Mrs. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi,
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mr. Hack.
Yes, and the motion passes. Cindy, do we have any of the new hires in? Do not tonight? Okay, very good. Okay, so then we will move on to new business. Just, a brief explanation that the items that are on new business, most of them have been discussed in work sessions. So it's not like they're being brought to the board tonight without additional discussion. And especially when we talk about the elementary redesign, for those of you who have not been in the work sessions, just to say that we've had multiple forums at the different schools with the public invited. We've had multiple work sessions, so they've been very thoroughly discussed prior to tonight. Okay, with that, I'll turn it over to Superintendent Shaw for new business.
Yep, so your first new business item would be the January 28th, 2025 board meeting number 2 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, that would be me. I am requesting that those board meeting minutes be moved to approval till next time so that they can be reviewed for the accuracy of the information that's provided. Because when we do our meeting minutes, they have to be reflective of the board meeting. And those particular minutes only address the presentation that was given, but not the totality of the discussion among the board members. So I would like that clarified to be representative of the meeting. And so if you take a look at that and then put it forward to the next board meeting.
Okay, so you're making a motion for that?
Sure. I move that the board meeting number 2 minutes be reviewed for as reflection as to the record of events, and move it to postpone it to the next board meeting, which is what date? The 24th? The 25th?
Okay, do we have support?
Can I ask a
quick question.
Mhm.
Oh, wait, we need support first.
Yeah.
Support.
Okay. Discussion.
There we go. So are we to review and come with suggestions, or are we going to discuss at the board meeting?
Well, I thought that there could be a secretarial review. I don't know how do we do that in the past. This isn't the first time we've done this, and I don't know how it's been done in the past. So, is it something that the board wants to take a look at and review? We can move it to, we can have a discussion. I don't have a, how do we do it in the past?
I guess I would have a recommendation that Darla, maybe you and Stacy can review
Get
those
with-
minutes along with Jamie.
Jamie?
Okay. Which part, just so I'm clear, which part of the minutes are you referring to as the discussion?
I pulled all the minutes so we can go through them.
I meant from this date, from board meeting 2
Yep.
that you're referencing?
Yeah, I pulled the whole meeting minutes so we can address that.
Which part are you addressing it within?
We will discuss that when we come to that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I guess if it's amenable, Stacy, you can get with Darla and with Jamie and go through those. And then at the next board meeting, add that to the consent agenda with the updated minutes.
Works for me.
Okay.
So we have a motion on the table with support, so that would mean,
Yeah, okay. Jamie, can we have a roll call on that?
Yes, Mrs. Trace, excuse me, Mrs. Grassi,
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent,
Yes.
yes, Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Myers,
yes.
Mr. Heck.
Yes, and the motion passes. Next is the MASB Board of Directors election.
So for our board members there, I believe we had a conversation around this in our work session. So who, is there a recommendation for that position?
I move to nominate Corey McLaughlin to represent Region 7 for our MASB Board of Directors.
Any discussion?
Mary, would you mind educating people on what we're talking about?
Sure. So, the Monroe Public Schools Board of Education is a member board of the Michigan Association of School Boards. As a member board, we get to elect our representative to the MASB Board of Directors. We are part of Region Number 7, which includes Monroe County, Ottawa County, Lenawee County, and it extends all the way up to Lansing. So we were given a list of 3 candidates that we were able to select from. And we as a board in our work session earlier today, were discussing the 3 candidates. And Corey, who happens to be serving on the Jefferson Schools Board of Education, we thought would be a wonderful representative for us because the MASB board, we thought would be really wonderful to have somebody from not just our geographical region, but also somebody that serves on a school board that is also serving a school district that is similar to ours, because the MASB board has many people serving on it that are from very large school districts in areas that are not close to ours. So good luck to Corey. And if you have any other questions, you are more than welcome to ask me about that.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Jamie, can we have roll call?
Yes, Mrs. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi. I'm
Yes.
so sorry. I'm tongue-tied tonight. And Mr. Heck.
Yes, so the motion passes 7-0.
All right, our next item is the elementary redesign and 5-6 building recommendation. So it is the recommendation of the administration. Monroe Public Schools Board of Education approved the proposed district redesign with Arborwood South becoming a 5-6, I'm going to cross that to elementary building beginning in the fall of 2025.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we do the elementary redesign for 5 and 6 building.
Support?
Support.
Discussion?
Been a lot of discussion.
Yes. So I would just like to say that I'm very grateful for the public commentary that we've had. I'm very grateful for the emails that we've received. I'm grateful for the discussion that we've had at the board table, for the various presentations that have been brought forward. But something that dawned on me earlier today is that when we were having our meetings back in November, when we were having the meetings at each of our elementary schools and at the admin building for people to come in and learn about the redesign proposal, that the inception of this project, of the proposal itself, was different when we were proposing it then. That project has then morphed and changed. And so one of the concerns that sprang to my mind this afternoon was, if somebody attended one of those early sessions and they haven't come to another board meeting and they haven't come and listened to a live stream, or they haven't come to another moment to learn more, they might be operating off of the assumption that that is still the plan, and that the vote that we cast tonight is to support that plan. And so my concern is that there might be people out there that if this passes, they might feel like, whoa, that's not what we talked about back in November. So that's a concern that I thought of today. And then the other piece is, I shared yesterday that I still have some mixed feelings about the way that we went around soliciting feedback and asking for contributions from our community. I feel like we could have done more to get that information. Surveys, being a lot more active and engaged with our community, with our staff. That's just my perspective, because I would have loved some like quantifiable data. Would have loved that. However, I could have asked for that. So I'm going to take some ownership there and saying, months ago, I could have made that request as a board member. So that's something that I've been thinking about these last few weeks of, I wonder what that would look like, because we've been getting qualitative data, which is wonderful. And I'm glad that we're hearing these things. But it would have been really interesting to also have some quantitative data to also go along with it. That's what I wanted to bring today.
Other commentary from anybody? We can. Stacy?
I guess one of my concerns is looking through like the timeline and looking at like what operations and tech needs to do, and then all the other projects that we have going on. Timeline, I don't know, and then we're already starting 3 weeks behind. Like some of the other projects, are you guys involved in like the elevators, the vestibules, Waterloo, all these other projects that will be going on at the same time?
I can see where your concern's coming from, but I would say that we do get a lot of support from Kohler Architect, our engineers. So a lot of that, we give initial guidance, but the work is done by them, the organization is done by them. So a lot of the heavy lifting wouldn't be by us. It's more of keeping track of the project and working with them, but we're not in depth doing that every day. So I personally don't feel that we would have a concern with that. And I'll be honest with you, from the heart, if I felt there was a concern, you can ask anyone in this room, I would be the first one saying, we need to pull back. Ask Mr. Shaw. I am the first one to say we need to finish what we start and do it right. So I do feel that we can do this. And I've been through quite a many big projects, and I wouldn't say that lightly.
Thank you, Brad. Gary?
I've gone back and forth with this quite a bit, and I think if I had my druthers, I really would rather wait a period of time before we do this. I think there's some things in front of us that we haven't had to confront yet. My biggest concern is, and I think Mary elaborated great earlier about our COVID kids, and I really hate to disrupt these kids' lives a second time. You know, and I take that and I want to extend it a little bit more. I know I've seen, because they presented us the census data for the next 5 years, we're gonna lose 1,000 kids in the school system in the next 5 years. And on top of that, now we've got federal school of choice coming. And I sit there and wonder, how much is that gonna affect us? So I have to ask myself, you know, if I disrupt these kids' lives and these families today, do I turn around in 2 years and say, well, gee, I'm sorry, we gotta change again because we lost so many kids? You know, that's my biggest concern. I would like to delay this, you know, and to segue once again off what Mary said. I would like to see some anonymous teacher surveys. I would like to see some surveys from the parents and the public, letting us know how they feel about it. We've all, you know, we've gotten, say, 10 letters from parents, and I think they were all against it. And that's just not representative of the community. I would like, this is what I would like, and, you know, my preference is, I would like to delay this, you know, for a year and give us a chance to take a really good look at this and see, and get some data back. And, you know, on top of that, with Waterloo opening up again in the fall, we can open Waterloo up K-4. We can go over to the 2 Arborwood schools, and obviously the 6th graders would be moving on from both schools. We could take the 5th graders out of Arborwood North, move them across the street to south, and bring the 2nd graders back over to the North School. So now we would have Arborwood North K-4, and we'll also have Waterloo K-4. And I think it'd be a wonderful opportunity to get some data back from those teachers and administrators, how that is working out. So, you know, my point is, I would like to delay this for a year and get some more information from the community and staff.
Thank you, Gary. Larry?
I guess my thought is, Gary, I'm not sure where you get your data from, because I've seen nothing showing we're gonna lose 1,000 kids in 5 years.
It was on the census. They gave us a census thing at one of the.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
must
We're
have
gonna
missed
go
that
from
one.
45 to 35, according to the census.
Right.
Yeah, that's what they told us. So that's what I'm basing it on.
That was the data that came in, yeah. I'm not sure you were in that meeting, Larry.
I might
but-
not have been.
Yeah.
But we got some census data that says overall Michigan in general is going to lose a lot of students. And I think specifically they said Monroe was roughly about 1,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something to think about then, that's
Yeah.
for sure. I don't see any sense delaying it. Either we're gonna do this or we're not gonna do this. To me, to wait another year, what's the point? We're either, in my mind, we're either going on with this. I have faith in everybody that's put time into this, all the administration, everybody that's done their due diligence. I think they know a lot more about it than I do. And that's all I've got to say on the subject.
Carrie?
I must not have been part of that census meeting either. I don't remember that discussion. But my question is, if we vote no, we've heard this before, if we vote something down and then it comes up again, there's been a negative notation on that before, as far as, do we bring up the same exact plan in the future? So that's my question is, then what? In addition, I feel that if we decide to move forward, that I would like to see from the downbeat, from the very get-go, I would like to see presentations for all stakeholders. So presentations available on the website, on Facebook, on wherever people go to get their information. Lots of parent engagement meetings, lots more than we even have had so far. Committees to get the work started, and various opportunities for transitioning our students as well. That's really important. But I believe that this dedicated space for these students of this age level and the teachers who are going to serve them is a wonderful opportunity, and I would love to see this happen.
Darla?
So I think I'm no different than anybody else. As we sit and we gather information from people, as we hear from the variety of teachers, there have been teachers that have been supportive and teachers that not. And I value the opinion of all of them equally because I think you're all have the ability to successfully do and speak to your own profession. So some of the points I'm going to bring up tonight are basically going to address some of the points that we brought up. One of the things, maybe it's not totally mod up, but David mentioned it, is one of the things we, the board, have to do that is different what you all have to do is we have to look at fiscal responsibility. There's only X number of dollars available, and those X dollars have to be utilized in ways that are going to highlight and benefit the students in ways that we as a board can see how that's going to play out. So we've seen ideas come out. We've heard what can be done. We've heard what would like to be done. But when I look at the fiscal monies of it and we said, okay, maybe it's $250,000, and I thought about that. And I'm like, well, okay, but I come from the business world, and in the business world, anytime you put out a fiscal number that says this is the financial cost associated with the project, there's always line items. We anticipate X number of dollars being needed for this. I think the 2 line items in this one was teachers, and what was the other one?
Moving expenses.
Expenses for moving. And so I'm like, okay, well, we know that there's going to be other stuff that can't be the totality of it. So there should be another fund. And then today, when we talk about, I forget what the whole conversation was. I think it was Stacy and David talking about the plan being put forward and how we're already behind. The first thing I thought of is Dave says, hey, we got Kohler. Kohler can pick up where we can't pick up. And then I'm like, well, Kohler, we pay for Kohler. So that would be a cost that we just highlighted tonight because Kohler charges us for stuff. Oh, they do it for free?
Go ahead. They're already contracted to do that work, so whether we do the redesign or not on the elevators, they have to move forward. That's a fixed cost.
Oh, on the elevators. I thought you were talking about the total plan because I thought Stacy was bringing up the total plan for the redesign.
She was making reference to other projects that could affect it, which I agree, we have to take those into account. That was one of them. But a lot of those sinking fund projects, bond projects, that's a fixed cost. We're gonna have to pay that whether the redesign moves forward or not.
I remember on other projects, because we've had a lot of bond work, we've had a lot of sinking fund, we've had a lot of major work done at the schools, of which there's still major work that's going to be going on this summer. And I remember, and y'all can clarify if I'm missing what I remember, but it was we can cut a lot of those costs because our guys can do it themselves. We can handle some of that work ourselves. Therefore, we can reduce the cost on this. We don't have to use and hire out for this because our staff is able to pick that up. So we have one set of staff. So if they're typically utilized on the bond work projects, I think it was like pulling carpeting and doing all that kind of strange stuff that they did. And I don't say strange, but I could go back and pull my notes because I remember I wrote that down as to a sideline, but I'm saying maybe my project idea wasn't exactly right, but don't you typically use your staff to do these bond and sinking fund projects?
No.
Never? Oh. Then I guess I'm way off on that one.
Yeah, the sinking fund, usually we have to bid it out. It has to be professionally bid. There's some things that we do maintenance-wise, but we would be doing those whether we do the redesign or not.
I thought there was like prep work that was done prior to some of this stuff.
You'd have to give me the
Yeah.
details to understand what you're going at.
Cleaning that has to
Yeah.
happen.
And the only reason I brought it up is if we've only got one set of staff, and to Stacy's point, how that's utilizing. So when I talk about fiscal responsibility, that was one thing that just brought up to me in the minute sitting here is how have we decided that this is fiscally feasible And we've taken account into all those costs. So the other side of that is, I know it brought up last night was the mental health component. And anybody that lives in Monroe and anybody that goes to the school, we know that the mental health impact of the students and people struggling, and not just students and teachers and staff and the whole community that has struggles with mental health. There are changes and there are things that can exacerbate those conditions. And I was looking at some of the research last night, and movement changes is a big component of what can impact it. And so I told you the other day, yesterday, if someone mentioned to me, are you even thinking about that? So I bring that up is because I don't know that we have spent a lot of time on that. And I know we spent a lot of time on stuff, but I do think we spent a lot of time on the same stuff. So I bring that up. One of the things that I think that came out of this was there was highlighted needs within the district. The highlighted needs were the usage of carts in some buildings. I don't believe there's anyone that either teaches, works, or sits on this board that would like to see anybody utilizing a cart for services. I truly don't think we're going to find someone. But this has opened an opportunity to, whether this plan goes through or not, that could be something that could be worked on, regardless if it goes through or not. I think about space. I think about, we went through some really good staffing information with Stacy tonight. So I think that those areas that got identified, there's some that still can be addressed, even though they may not be through the 5-6 design. And I believe, just as much as I remember Dave said yesterday, that the team can do this, and that the team could do that as well. So I see that. I thank you, Carrie, for talking about presentations, because someone had said that yesterday that when they were looking for information, where was someone supposed to go to find this? And so I queried some people and said, where did you get your information on this design? And they're like, we heard about it. Someone mentioned Facebook last night. Oh, I can't find it on Facebook, but I'm not a Facebook person, so I can't find it. But so when you talk about presentations, I think that to Mary's point, some of that could have been beneficial through this process in order to tamp down, as one of our presenters said, the nervousness that is inherent within any type of change. It's not that people can't adapt to change, it's how they get there. So I mentioned it last night, and sometimes sitting up here, it's very difficult to say yes or no, because there's so many outliers, especially when the capacity for which we're talking with. I do think there's opportunities for not now. I think that Gary brought up some very good points as to why not now. The atmosphere of the public education system has a high probability of changing very rapidly. I think that there are some logistics that have not been determined yet. And one of my hangups was always two things. One, and to Chelsea's point, yes, all of our kids dealt with the COVID component, but there's only two grades that are going to have to deal with this transition. Everybody else is operating within the same system for which they did before. And I think that's why it's been brought up, I know by me specifically. And the other point was, just went out of my head. Maybe it wasn't so important after all. It was something else Chelsea had said. But, I was talking about the don't wait. So I brought up yesterday was, I do think there's an opportunity to say not now. And I think it's a very real thing, because like Carrie said, to the point, if we say yes or no right now, it does become very difficult sometimes to re-put something up to the board that's already been voted down. And I don't know that, I know for me personally, I value what I heard. I valued what was said. And I think there could be a probability that down the road we could say, now's the time. And so I look at a possible, I would like to move to postpone indefinitely the motion put forward tonight. Did we make a motion yet?
There's motion support, so you can't.
Yeah, a postponement can only be made on a motion because you can't postpone a motion that hasn't been done. This is how we've always handled it. So the last time this vote was coming up, we postponed it until the December, would have come up in December 10th, I believe it was. And we postponed it for a definite time period. And so I know we had the discussion, Mary, that there's two ways to postpone something. One says, I'm going to put it up to a specific time frame. And the other one says, we're going to hold it indefinitely and we will decide down the road what that time frame is going to be. That vote, the motion was made, and then the motion was made to postpone it for a time period that would have been the vote in December, which never happened. So instead of voting it to postpone it to a definite time frame, I am making a motion to postpone it indefinitely in order to move it into a time frame that we could work with. You can, yeah. Yeah, we just did it. We just did it. You can't postpone a motion that's not made.
Let me think about it.
Mary, that's what we did last time.
My preference would be to vote on this motion.
So if I don't get a second, I don't get a second, but I'm putting a motion forward to postpone it rather than to do a yes or no today.
So we have
I'm putting the motion up to postpone it indefinitely, postpone the motion indefinitely. I cannot postpone anything but the motion. And so I'm putting forward to postpone the motion indefinitely in order to take a look at a time frame that may be more conducive. So we can second it or not second it.
I can support that.
Okay, so we have a motion to postpone indefinitely, and we have support. We have further discussion on that.
Isn't indefinitely mean it's never coming back?
Well,
No, not according to the Roberts rules. According to Robert rules, it just means you're not giving it, like last time I said, we put it for December 10th and we voted to postpone it till the December 10th. Well, December 10th came around and it never got on the agenda. It never got voted on. So this time, if we do it indefinitely, you can put it up at any period of time. Well, Jeremy's sitting right here.
Yeah, Jeremy, would you care to chime in?
We can postpone a motion.
It is a possibility.
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
I don't have any authority on the board.
Okay. Is there any more, I guess I would just say I think this needs to be voted on tonight. I think it's a disservice to the administration to just keep pushing this off indefinitely without giving them an answer. If we don't want it to go forward, we vote no. If we want it to go forward, we vote yes, or we can always bring up alternative motions once we've gone through this motion.
So we can just vote on the postponement and then go back to the
We'll vote on the
motion.
postponement first. Is there any
Okay.
further discussion on the postponement? Okay, Jamie, can we have roll call on the motion to postpone the motion?
Yes. Mrs. Williams?
No.
Mr. Zimmerman?
No.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Myers?
Yes.
Mrs. Terrassi?
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent?
No.
Mr. Heck?
No. So the motion to postpone has been turned down. Now, is there any further I haven't had a chance to do my commentary on the motion, so I'm going to do that now before we vote. I am in support of the restructuring. I think when I look at the overall plan and what the layout of the public, the elementary schools. We have not only a lot of people on carts, the Encore teachers, which in addition to being a disservice to them, when they go into a classroom, then the teacher who's in that classroom, their planning time is disrupted by the fact that the encore is happening in the classroom. We have I don't think it was brought up enough about the split classes. Manor has several, they have at least a 1-2, they have a 3-4 and a 5-6. So that is not a very good conducive situation for those students being in split classes. This restructuring will give each individual grade an individual class in every building, plus it will give every Encore class an individual classroom as well. To Mr. Goodman, currently the sixth graders who are in band get bused over to the middle school, which means they miss some of the early class by the time they get back to their.
Encore classes too, so they miss out on those also.
So, thank you. So, I think this is a benefit to the students. And I've looked at the layouts. I think the layouts are great, much more effective than the current layouts. That being said, I do hear a lot of, I guess, concern from the public. We have to listen to the public on maybe the reduced, not enough communication of this so everybody understands what it means to their personal family, as well as the timing. I do have confidence that the team under David can do this, but I think some of the public is maybe a little bit more concerned than I am. So that's my comments. And so with that, I guess, Jamie, can we have roll call?
Wait, can I ask one
Yes,
quick question
please.
before we move on? So I'm glad that you brought up splits, Tom, because I do feel like that hasn't been discussed very much when we're talking about the 5-6 proposal. So with the 5-6 plan, does that mean that there will be no splits?
That's correct. That's what I've been
Like
told.
that's a guarantee?
Absolutely no splits according to the layouts.
That's okay. Because guarantee is a very strong word.
That's what I'm thinking, man.
Just said it.
That's a very strong word.
It is. Okay.
Well, this is also this is why I really wanted to make sure that we were saying this in a recorded board meeting, that it's a guarantee that we're not doing splits if the 5-6 plan were to go through. Because as somebody who had to teach many of those split classes at Raisinville, yikes on bikes.
Yeah.
So to your point, and I guess if that's where we're at is making guarantees, do we want to make guarantees about a lot of the other concerns that are brought up? And I know one of those is school of choice. And I know that was a big topic at the the meetings at the schools when Andy had all those schools was, how does this affect us, school of choice? And what about people that their children are being moved, but yet because we know there's going to be not just moving into Arborwood South. I always get that mixed up. South is a Cantrick, right? Yeah. And there'll be other movements within the district as well, because that's already been discussed. So, I remember these parents are like, can you guarantee us? I mean, I remember 2 specific meetings. They were like, can you guarantee us? Can you guarantee us? So I think, again, if we're guaranteeing, people were asking for that guarantee. I'm with you. I don't think in this big of a project that some of those guarantees can always be 100%. And so I would caution against it, but if that's the direction we want to go and make some guarantees for support, then I guess we can do that.
Yep. So the question has been addressed is that intra-district school of choice. So if I am a Manor student, an Arborwood student, I'm there due to intra-school district, which the parent has chose that building, we have already come out and stated that that child that chose that building stays. And if there's any siblings that are coming from behind, I mean, for example, you have a current fourth grader or third grader there, and you have a newborn at home, that newborn will be allowed to go there because it's they've already chose and been accepted. So the intra-district school of choice is that we already addressed that one, that we're not going to say, okay, you now have to go to this building because they already chose it, they're already there, and so we wouldn't push them out. Nor have we ever, would we have asked them that not have their siblings go to that building. It's when you get to the next level is any kind of a district line change. And so that's you're talking about, from example, a Manor or a Raisinville or whatever, if the lines shift right there. And what we're seeing is that the lines will be shifting more over here in the Custer and in the Arborwood area than in any other area.
You have that data? Because we haven't gotten that.
So again, I'm going to make a statement right here, and I'm going to make an apology because I do believe in the democratic process. Darla, multiple times through this whole process, we've given you all the information, but you keep coming back to this. I don't have the data. I don't have I need to drill down further on the staffing model, on the teaching requirements. That is our job as the administration to make sure. If we didn't believe we could make this plan work because we didn't have the staff, or we didn't have the money or the capabilities of doing it, we would have stopped this process a long time ago. A long time ago.
So
when
as
you're
a board
pushing-
member, I've got my own role and my own responsibility, and I'm here to
try
ask
and do
questions.
My job, to try and do her job.
I'm not doing
his
their
job.
jobs.
But that's what you're doing right here when you're pushing down, going, so we have 24 teachers in this role right here, and will they move on? Yes, they may move on. They may not. We're looking at ways to try and better our system as completely. And there's going to be people in our system that are not going to like it. I know for a fact, yes, that some of the lines will shift. And for some parents, that has happened in the past. And that's because you have population shifts, and we said this before, in our school district. I've been here 2.5 years. Many of you I look around have been in this district your whole life, from birth, by the way. And the lines have had to shift due to population movements inside and living locations inside our district. So that's not an uncommon thing. So to make that kind of a guarantee, the guarantee that can be made is if you are a student at a building, your parent chose for you to go there and you were accepted to go into that elementary building, you stay put until your time is done there. So, which would be at fourth grade. So if I'm a first grader at Manor, my parents put me there, and through district school of choice, they're there through fourth grade, then fifth grade, they'd be over there. The other bigger question that was starting to come up, and I'm going to go ahead and address it right now, is the district school of choice in the county. So, in the past 2 years, when people come forward to request to be released from Monroe Public Schools, we are required to release 1% of our population, which is 45 students. And so we do that. We also have parents that come to us about emergency releases and or other circumstances that may arise. And so we've honored that. What we have to think about is our local districts around us. Ida's full. Straight up, they're full. Airport, full. So our parents have the choice of Erie Mason or going to Jefferson within our, right here. If they already are choosing to go outside of our county due to work situations, I've already approved those. That's what happens because they will come to me and say, I'm working here and this is where my daycare is located, and we've honored that. So there's no guarantee that I'm going to sit right here and go, all right, we are going to honor any school of choice outside of the county, okay? When it comes to inside the county, again, we have school districts that they deny. Ida denies because they are full. So when it comes down to that, it's really more about parents will have to make that big decision, but we can make that decision alongside of them. And my last point to all of this is the simple point of it's faith in the people that you had come to speak. Yes, when it comes down to the number of emails we received, there's about, I think I had 4 positive emails come in, and then there's about roughly 10-ish right there, not for it.
It's not representative. That's my point.
But that's my point is that, but it comes down to communications out. Yes, Mary, I don't disagree. I thought that was a spot on point about after to have further meetings because the plan had changed. But one of the things we did say though is that is that when those changes happened, we did put it out there. But to say that the communication's not out there, I believe that we've had at least 3 or 4 news articles. It's gone in our week in review. We had those parent meetings. And I'm here to tell you, everybody, if you're a teacher out there, raise your hand. Thank you. How many of you teachers talk to parents? Thank you. So they talk, well, not administrators, but I know because I even heard last night, we had people, so parents are aware. They are aware. They are. And so when it's all said and done, I understand the worry about a timeline. I understand some of these other parts. And again, if from this seat right here and the trust of my cabinet, if they would have said, especially that man sitting right there, and looked at me because he has done it in the past, going, "You got to push back. We cannot keep doing this." And so when this is all said and done, Gary had asked me the question about 1 month ago when we were, is that, do you believe that this will increase student achievement? And from the bottom of my heart, and the work that we're doing in our school, it's a yes. Because again, if it doesn't work, who's getting fired, ladies and gentlemen? No, it's not you. But my point is, with everything we do, there is a risk to reward. And if we didn't believe in this, we wouldn't have even kept moving forward. We would have shut it down before we even got to you. I mean, remember how I had people come in and ask me about, can we start talking about that? We would have shut it down.
Might I make a suggestion?
So that's my point there.
Tom?
Yeah.
Call for your vote.
Can I say one more thing?
I wanted to follow up to that.
Let's let Carrie talk.
I just wanted to follow up to Andy.
Just in addition to the school of choice that was already discussed and the way that we've always handled it before, if we vote no on this 5-6 plan, we've already heard that we have to re-look at the school of choice as it's being done at both Manor and Raisinville, because those buildings are overwhelmed. And we can't just keep saying yes to parents who want their students there.
That's my
So
point.
I do want to say that even though we've already discussed, it's going to be, held up the way it's been in the past, that does have to be looked at for the future.
I just wanted to make a couple points. I appreciate your passion, Andy. I know that this is very important to you and to a lot of people. I don't discount that. But I remember when I got on the board and before I ran to get on the board, I made it very clear. I need to be able to explain to people why I vote the way I do. I need to be able to explain, did you look at this? Did you answer that? The staffing questions tonight were not where you were putting your staff. It was based on teaching certifications and what constituted the staff. In fact, I even said, what you do with your staff is not up to me. Just part of this project. Do we have the staff to complete this project? Will we need to hire more staff based on the project before we have anybody that decides they don't want to, as Andy said, continue here? So those to me are very real questions. I know I ask a lot of questions, but I also know that the questions that I ask, other board members benefit from the answers that they receive as well. And so to your point, I will always ask questions. And when I make my vote, I know that I'm making my vote because that's what I believe.
We still have discussion?
Make it brief.
Brief? I think it's really important. I made my point, how I felt about all this, and I still do. I've never been against this.
Right.
However we vote, I think we need to have a unified front because this is a really, really big deal. And we need to have a unified front, even though my vote, what I wanted didn't go, what I wanted went away. But however we vote, we need to be unified on this to take it out to the public. So that's it. Was that brief enough?
That's brief enough. Okay, Jamie, can we have roll call?
Yes. Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Myers,
No.
Mrs. Tracy,
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Heck.
Yes. And the motion passes. Okay, moving forward, we have a reinstatement recommendation.
Yes, Mr. Malalopsy, would you please go through that for the board?
Thank you, Mr. President and Mr. Shaw. We ask the board to consider the recommendation of the reinstatement committee on this matter of student discipline and move to accept the recommendation of the committee for a conditional reinstatement of student A, or move to reject the recommendation of the committee and unconditionally reinstate student A, or move to reject the recommendation of the reinstatement committee and deny reinstatement of student A.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we accept the recommendation of the committee for a conditional reinstatement of student A.
Support.
Support. Any discussion? Jamie, can we have roll call?
Mr. Jenkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Tracy,
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mr. Hack.
Yes, and the motion passes.
Thank you to the reinstatement committee that served on that.
Good. So our next item is Michigan Student Conference. In your packet, on the left-hand side of your binder, is the recommendation right there. And so, Mr. Malalopsy, you want to go over this with our board, please? I'll take care of it. So we had our high school class, our MHS Student Council, I'm looking at it right here. So the MHS Student Council is requesting to go to a overnight trip to Grand Rapids, and this is a leadership conference, Michigan Student Leadership Conference. It's at the Amway Grand. There'll be 5 students attending, 2 chaperones. The cost is $322 per person. Each student would pay $100. The remaining is paid for out of the Student Council account. And so it is a recommendation of the administration, the Board of Education approve the overnight trip for the Student Leadership Conference for our high school students, those 5 students there.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we support and let the students go to their overnight Student Leadership Conference. Thank you. My mind went blank.
Any support?
Support.
Any discussion? Jamie, can we have roll call?
Yes, Mrs. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Tracy,
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mr. Hack.
Yes, and the motion passes. That leads us to old business, and we have no old business tonight, so I'll turn it over to Superintendent Shaw for his superintendent
Okay,
comments.
well, thank you very much, sir. Count day is tomorrow, and so it is another big day for us right there. Board members, in your board briefs this week, you will have what our count is tomorrow. Now, that is a butts and seat count. It's not an FT, okay? And so you'll also see what the count was in the fall and last February. So you'll be able to see that. The other document you'll have is the number of students that were not with us on count day, and basically how many kids we're tracking. And then each week we'll update you in your board briefs on that count day, on how that tracking is going. And so we'll just pray that we were in school on Thursday, okay? Because so we have one more day to count them and not be here. President's Day is February 17th, Monday, and that is we have that off from school. And entrepreneurship, the week of February 15th through the 22nd has been declared Entrepreneurship Week in Michigan. And in our community, it's really unique because we have our Young Entrepreneurs Program in our school district, but also there's a lot of movement here in the city to really embrace entrepreneurship. And so it's a great opportunity for both Monroe Public Schools and the city. CT month, 8th grade open house. So during career and technical education month, our 8th graders are touring the CT programs and the high school. So we were at the high school today doing our tour, and we were able to see our 8th graders over there. And so job well done, sir, on that, and seeing our those 8th graders over there. And so then the last one I just said about Thursday. So kids that are out there, please, no ice cubes, none of the things in the toilet, whatever you do to try and get a snow day. We need to be here on Thursday, okay? So tomorrow night, none of that kind of action, everybody. So that is my comments for this. Oh, I'm sorry, I do have one other item. Apologize for that. It was brought up about the strategic plan. So prior to this February 27th, end of this month, we're going to have on February 27th, we're going to have that work group back in. We're going to finish the vision and mission. And so that should take about 2 hours with that group. A survey is going out to student, staff, parents, and the students are 6th grade and up here at the end of this month. And then we're scheduling the 2-day workshop for the 21st through April 21st through May 9th, right there, a 2-dayer. And then in June, early July, the board will have the final copy to approve to implement the plan this fall. So that second workshop, that 2-dayer, again, that'll be a group of community members, staff members, and others to take part. And that's a day where 2 days where you dig into the data, you dig into the surveys, you dig into all the information, and you begin writing our plan and from that information right there. So that is the timeline. So that next big step, though, will be the vision and mission work on February 27th. Now I'm done.
Thank you, Superintendent Shaw. Public commentary on any topic. Carrie, do we have
just
some?
one more tonight, Yvonne? Oh, did you?
Nice work, all of you. Nice work, all of you.
Hello, I will be brief. First, I have a question. We had a lot of information in this the weekend review thing about the Kindness Project. Can you remind me, what does PBIS stand for our leaders?
Positive behavior intervention and supports.
I don't write it down, I can't remember.
Have to know the acronyms.
Okay, on to my main topic is the swimming team. Tonight, our Monroe High boys swim team is swimming in Ann Arbor at Pioneer. They have 20 meets this season and only 2 are at home because many schools refuse to come to swim in our pool. They did have a recent meet countywide at Dundee, and as far as I can recall, they only have 6 lanes in their nice new pool. I don't know what's Dundee High, 20 years old now maybe? I don't know. Anyway, so our kids are doing well. It would be nice to see a little more recognition. We've had some different sports teams who get recognition, I think maybe even in the high school. I'm getting this from my daughter, of course. And anyway, it'd be nice to see recognition. We've had some kids who are doing very well, despite the problem of not being able to jump off a starting block and instead having to step into the pool and kick off at their feet. So that's all. Thank you, and I'm glad I'm not up there.
Thanks, Yvonne. Do we have another one?
That's all we have.
Oh, that's all? Oh, I thought you.
Laura. Larry was hiding that in this folder.
I also will be brief. I hope to not get emotional, but I do have to speak publicly and say this week has been an extreme roller coaster for me. My mother unexpectedly passed yesterday, and we had a short prayer, and she was cremated. Today is also my double nickel birthday. And I think that my mother would have haunted me if I would not have been here to support my administration. All the work that we have proudly done at Arborwood. And I just thank the board for passing. Thank you.
Okay. Board member commentary. Any board member Mary, you want to start?
I can't right now. Can you
Oh.
circle back to me?
Oh, okay. Or Larry?
I'm good.
Okay, Carrie?
Just one thing. It's School Counselors Week. So if you have a school counselor in your building, please thank them. Give them a big hug. Take them cookies, whatever you can do to thank them. Right?
Darla?
I have 2 things. Very passionate. And Laura, my heart goes out to you. That's very difficult to go through, I can imagine. So the way boards work, we may not all agree. We may not all want the same vote. But when the vote is taken, we support the vote of the board that has been put forward. That's the way this board's operated in the 2 years that I've been here. And I just want you to know that even though I voted against it, I will support and do everything in my power to make this a success because I sit here for the success of Monroe. I may have a different vision, but I just want you to be aware of that. The other thing is, in the strategic plan, someone asked me if that was open to the public, if it's a committee meeting, and I had no answers for that.
I'll go ahead and answer that for you. So when we pull a committee together, it is truly a committee representative of staff members. Like we had 2 board members, administrators, parents from our different buildings on that first one. Now, the second one, it would be some of the same people and a shift, but it's not an open meeting because it's really that work for that committee that's brought together to do the work right there. And so, and that's why we'll do surveys and other mechanisms.
So maybe help clarify, is it an administrative meeting or is it a board meeting?
It's an administrative meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that it? Gary?
No, I spoke enough tonight.
Stacy?
I'm just gonna say it was really stressful. I was back and forth and back and forth. I can't even tell you how many times. But in the end, I'm trusting the people to put all the time and effort into it. And I hope that you can make the timeline happen.
Mary?
Yes. Thank you for accommodating a little loopity-doo going the opposite way. I am excited for the potential in the plan. I'm very excited for Encore teachers to have their dedicated classrooms. I'm excited for no split classrooms. I'm excited for the opportunities that are in front of us. I also understand that change management is difficult and you have big, heavy load ahead of you, Mr. Shaw. So, yes, with all of that. Next, because board member colleagues, we will be discussing superintendent goals upcoming. I have my notes from when the previous board had discussed possibilities for like ideas for what we were thinking for goals. I would be happy to share with what I had in my notes from last time if that would be productive. But I also don't want to put into a space of like, this is what we have to do. So I'm happy to share ideas of my notes of what I have. However you would like that, I'm happy to deliver or keep that to myself. Whatever would be most fruitful. But that's all I wanted to share.
Thank you, Mary. I guess to wrap it up, I do want to thank the staff, both the administration, the teachers, the staff who have been involved in getting this project since we started discussing it in October. So certainly everybody's put a lot of work into it, answering questions, supplying information. I want to thank the board members because, as Stacy said, this is probably, since I've been on the board, this is the most difficult decision that we've had to make, and certainly the one that would have the most impact, not only on the school, but also on the families. So that being said, I would say, despite the stress, that was the easy part. Now, for David and all of you in the school, you have to implement, meet the timeline, and start up the fall in a great fashion. So good luck.
We got this. We got this.
Okay, with that, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session for contract negotiations.
I move that we convene in closed session for the purpose of contract negotiations, et cetera.
Do we have support?
I'll support.
Jamie, can we have roll call?
Yes. Mrs. Taurasi?
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams? Yes. Mr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes. With that, as soon as everybody